All right, thanks everyone for joining the Future Proof podcast. My name is Alex. I'm joined here with Larry. He is the CEO and owner of Confide Group. And yeah, Larry, thanks for joining me.
Hey, nope, happy to be here. And actually, I'm a co-founder. So co-founder and president, I run this with a good friend of mine for a long time, Jason Cinnamore. And it's sort of a passion project for us. Confide is really an organization that is built to serve the cyber executive that hasn't been built before. Yeah, so Confide Group was really born to be a help them where they at type organization. So if you think about any technology executive, we're focusing on cyber executive, but you think about technology executives in general, they are bombarded with information, right? They are bombarded with tools and tech and so many people coming at them, trying to get in front of them. Well, the head of cyber is no different. And the fact that they get bombarded by both so many tech companies, so many people inside their business, so many threats, they need to be focusing on how to help their organization, not focus on technology and strategy and these other things. So for us, we built Confide to sort of help them where they're at and be that partner for them when they need it. So for us, our goal is to, whether they need board decks reviewed or they need a technology to solve a risk and mitigate a problem, our goal is to be a full service partner to help them figure out all of those things and to sort of shrink the market and be able to broker conversations and introductions and walk them through the entire aspect of from finding a technology partner or a service partner all the way through purchasing and implementation into their organization.
Nice. I like it. So I did a little bit of research, kind of looked at your business and say you guys really do the tagline or kind of come from a aspect of built on community guided by trust. So what was the spark behind that? Like, why did you try to differentiate yourself from the traditional model?
Yeah. So one of the things that happened is the traditional model, I was a buyer for 33 years, right? And so I've been an 8-time chief information security officer of a bunch of different companies. And in my own direct experience, I realized that the resellers and the people that were out there helping to find technology for me weren't adding the value that they promised, right? So they would say, hey, we're here to add value. We want to help you. But what they actually did in practice was sold technology and then showed up again 90 days prior to the renewal happening. And I'm like, well, what happened to these prior 9 months when I had all these tickets open, when I had these issues? Like, you were in the win. So for us, our goal is to be there at the side of the cyber executive throughout the entire journey. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that I recognize that most people sitting on this side of the table typically don't recognize is I've sat in the seat. I know the trauma. I know the pain that every cyber executive is dealing with at one level or another. And I understand the focus can't be on trying to find technology to meet a problem. The focus has to be on meeting the needs of the organization. And so for us, that's our goal, is to help them in that, because the role of the CISO is at more risk than ever. If you look, there have been a couple of cases recently with Uber and with SolarWinds where the heads of cybersecurity were the ones whose heads were on the chopping block by regulators, right? Not the CIOs, not the CEOs, not the CTOs, the heads of cyber.
When you really break it down, like what do you guys think is the most important or the biggest value that you bring to a CISO?
For us, it's shrinking the market. The market of cybersecurity has grown to well over 7,500 different technologies. And when you think about the sheer volume of that, it's impossible for anyone to knowingly and intelligently break that down into 2 technologies or even one technology that they want to buy to solve a problem. Because a lot of the same words are used. If you go into any cybersecurity conference and you look around, all the same words are being used in every booth. So how do you discern which one is real and which is Memorex, right? Like, if you're old enough to remember the Memorex commercials. So for us, because we've got access into all of these companies, because we've got visibility into the funding behind all of these companies, we can actually look at these companies at a far deeper level than most entities.
I saw that you guys really say that you've built the CISO Society. How is community such a critical part of cybersecurity today, in your viewpoint?
Yeah, so the reality is community is important everywhere, right? But the reality is the threat actors that are coming and attacking organizations, they aren't just attacking one. And if we aren't sharing and learning from each other as a community, the things that we're doing that are working and the things that we're doing that aren't, we can't grow fast enough to meet the needs of stopping the attackers. So we've got to work together as a community to actually become better faster.
Yeah, I mean, that's yeah. You being able to like transfer and make that community as a whole, and then them kind of cascade everything down that they're working on, or you're working on, or even maybe that they've counteracted in the last couple months or weeks is, I think that's huge because community, like you said, it's one of our like primal instincts to have a community, and if you don't really have that in any type of workspace, I think it's a really big mistake. From your point, how does your team balance being a vendor neutral while still staying ahead of emerging tech?
Yeah, so for us, being vendor neutral, or we call it vendor agnostic, is a principal part of who we are. And I say that because at the end of the day, we don't want to give the perception that we are leaning one way or another. So one of the things that we do is we always take two technologies to our customers. So when our customers say, hey, they have a problem that they need to solve, where they need a technology to solve it,
Yeah.
we've got a rubric that we utilize, and then we will narrow it down to two technologies. So ultimately, the decision is still in the hands of the customer versus our hands. We'll walk them through the process, walk them through the demos of those two. But to get there, we use a rubric, and then we let them and their team decide once we get down to those two.
Yeah. So you're not just pushing one technology or one product to them because maybe you have some kind of interest in it, or you're getting a kind of like a referral, based. So that's why maybe another company would be referring them one technology because they're getting some type of, incentive from it, but it might not be the best use case scenario for them.
Yep, that's correct. And that's part of the challenge that has happened with the buying process in cybersecurity, is a lack of transparency. There's been a lack of transparency as to why this technology was being said it's to be the best and why they're pushing that one, what the actual technology actually costs, what is it that they charge the partner, right, the reseller to sell it versus what that reseller is selling it to the customer for. This black hole that has existed in this ecosystem has helped one side of the ecosystem, which is the sales side. It has not added value to the companies that are buying technology. So for us, we really want to disrupt and bring the transparency that's needed into that ecosystem so that then the customers actually know what they're getting, they know what they're paying for, and they know that there was no nefarious reason behind certain technology being brought to the table.
So now that leads exactly perfectly on my next question. So I was going to ask you, like, what makes CISOs so frustrated right now with the current vendor ecosystem? Do you think that's the most frustrating thing, or do you think there's maybe other factors that they get frustrated with?
No, that's one of them. The other one is there's so much technology, and we've spent a lot of years utilizing technology to solve problems. But the challenge becomes this: if you buy technology today to solve a singular problem, right? That's great. But in 3 years, it's going to solve 3 problems. But now you also have other technologies that you bought to solve one problem that now solve 3 problems. In most cases, all of these companies begin to overlap each other over that 3 to 5 year period. And most companies aren't having roadmap strategy-based discussions with companies that they are getting into bed with. So you buy, over a 5 year period, 5 different technologies to solve problems, and now they are spiderweb mapping over each other. You're basically not utilizing a large percentage of the technology you bought. So from a cyber standpoint, it adds complexity to what you're doing inside your organization, right? Both for you as a CISO, but also for your team who has to manage these things. But then the board is coming back to you saying, hey, why are you asking for more money? And you have all this technology that you're likely not using. So there's this added frustration that continues to grow time over time, year over year. So trying to unravel that can become quite frustrating. Again, because I've sat there, I understand.
So now, where do you kind of see the relationship between CISOs and vendors evolving over the next couple of years?
So is vendors are getting better at understanding that CISOs are busy and they aren't necessarily always their target. CISOs are beginning to understand and vocalize more, hey, like, you don't need to talk to me, you need to talk to my team. So there's starting to be a little bit of balance. Not all vendors know, not all vendors know this. Many of them are still utilizing old tactics, but many vendors are starting to recognize relationship is the far and beyond anything else, the most important thing to have, which is foster relationship to then drive other things that you want to do. And so that's what we do. The historical selling process has been very tactical, right? Knock on as many doors as you can, and then once you've knocked on as many doors as you can, whoever answers those doors, then let's just drive in there hardcore about what we can do to help you, and you have to buy, right? There's no reason you don't buy. Versus now, let me knock on the door, let me create a relationship, let me understand who they are as a person, so I can then understand how I need to better communicate with them so that I can express the value I'm bringing to them versus I've got the hot new tech and I'm the only one who can do it and it's going to solve all your problems.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you just said that the best. I mean, I can't really even come back and even say anything different. I mean, I think it's super important. So I know that you guys are scaling super fast right now. So what has been the biggest challenge in reaching and educating new CISOs?
So the challenge hasn't been with the CISOs, right? The challenge is we have not had a challenge with CISOs understanding the value of community and the value of finding a new buying process. The challenge is going into organizations and their procurement teams understanding the value when they already have other buying mechanisms in place that they buy through, right? For procurement teams to understand, hey, we've already got these 3 people that we buy through for cybersecurity. Why would we add a 4th or why would we remove one of them? And they don't understand the value because for procurement, the process is the same. So they don't typically understand the value of what this new way of buying is and what the value is going to be for the executive. A lot of times it takes the CISO or the cyber executive in the organization to say, hey, no, this is going to add value to me. Here's why I need this done. This is important and strategic for me.
Got it. Your bottleneck or maybe a obstacle is when you run into a CISO that maybe has barriers that they just can't do what they need to do. Okay. All right. So where are you finding that the CISOs that have the ability to move forward quickly and make that decision versus the ones that might have other gatekeepers in the way? Like,
yeah, so for us, the larger organizations tend to be the ones that are more of a bottleneck because they've got a lot more process, a lot more, hoops to jump through in order to make it happen. We have not found a solution to that bottleneck yet. We're working through it. And again, for us, the goal is to help the CISO. And so as the CISO is able to sort of maneuver and move things out the way over time, we're patient, right? I've got 14 CISOs that I'm mentoring right now. So for me, even if we don't have that paper in place, if we can set a meeting and I'm advising these CISOs and mentoring them in ways that are going to help them build their program better and help them shrink the market and do things they need to mitigate risk in their organization, I'm fine with that because being a man of faith, I know all good things come with time and I've just got to be patient on his plan. So I'll just continue to work through it and put that positive energy out there and do what I think I'm supposed to be doing to help them at the end of the day.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, you got to come from a place of service because that's basically the number one way to get your point across and not wanting to be super salesy. And I completely understand. As long as you're positioning yourself to be the one that if they have a problem they turn to and you're the solution, then there you go. I think you've won. So what do you think is the biggest myth in cybersecurity procurement that you wish would go away?
Biggest myth in cybersecurity procurement is that all resellers are the same. Again, I think that resellers are all different and add different values or perceived values in what they bring to the table. But I can say, and I say this a little tongue in cheek, but I say it honestly, and not everybody likes when I say it. Most resellers today are owned by private equity. And I don't know any private equity businesses that are doing or putting customers for profit. It could just be me, but I don't know any that exists
No.
because that's not the model they're built on.
All right. I know that you just mentioned that you coach and mentor other CISOs, and that's kind of a really important, aspect of what you do. So if every CISO that was listening right now, if they could change one mindset tomorrow, what would that be?
Well, that's an interesting one. So you know what? I actually have it. So if every CISO could change one mindset tomorrow, it would be put your people first.
Yeah, I love it.
And I say that because it is very easy as a CISO to get focused on your strategy and the execution and implementation of your strategy because you've got regulators, you've got the executive leadership, you've got the board, you've got all these pressures, as well as business leaders from across your company coming at you. But at the end of the day, your team is the most important thing that you have, regardless of how big or small they are. And because even if you have a small team, you likely then have some outsourced resources. They are the things that enable your execution. So you've got to make sure that A, you are hiring properly to build the proper team to then enable you to implement strategy. So focusing on your team, focusing on building the proper team with great people, and then communicating with them on a regular basis to ensure that they understand at an individual level where each of their roles plays into the bigger ecosystem of what you're trying to accomplish as a cyber team. That will help you drive your strategy, and that'll help you meet the demand of your business leaders, your business partners, the executive leadership team, and your board of directors.
I think over the years of running and managing teams of well over 100 people in every couple different industries, I think the most impactful and the best thing you can do is empowering your team to, when they do something, they know the reason why you're doing it. They are empowered to do it. And the leadership there is just, exudes that. If they're not empowered or they don't know the reasonings why they're doing certain things, it's so hard to get the buy-in. And then it's just going to cascade down to everything that you do and everything in that business. So yeah, no, I think that's awesome advice. So if they want to, everyone listening, all the listeners want to find the Confide Group, where can they find you? Where they can find you? Social media, the website, just call it all out.
Yeah, so I am easy. I am the only Larry Whiteside Jr. on LinkedIn. So look me up. Feel free to connect. I'm an open connector. I connect with everybody because I think I've got a message to share that I think everybody should hear. So I'm always connecting with people. Confide, we are online as well, but you can go to Confide and our website is there. There's tons of ways to connect and engage with us. If you are a cyber executive and you are, interested in being a part of what we're doing, we've got a group, we've got a global community of 1,900 cyber executives called the CISO Society. Feel free to go to thecisosociety.com. There's a link there to join. It's a free membership. We've got tons of resources in there for cyber executives to just help them be better.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Larry.
Thank you. I appreciate it.